Right, quick side note before we get into this video. I did film this video alongside a screen recording with TierMaker, but at the end of the video, the TierMaker screen recording did crash. So instead, I'm going to have to try and improvise, and you're going to have to put up with my pretty face instead. Enjoy the video. Welcome back to a new video on the channel. Today, we are again predicting the National League South for the upcoming 24-25 season. All 24 places will be predicted, and hopefully we'll get a few more right than we did last year. So without further ado, where do I start? First things first, please don't hate me if I put your team in a place you don't like. It's just my opinion. I have fallen slightly out of touch with the National League South because local side Yeovil have been promoted to National League, so I've been putting a bit of effort into that. And Dartford, obviously, my team have been relegated to the Isthmian League, so I've been giving the Isthmian League a tiny bit of food for thought as well. But National League South, it is still my league. I know a lot about it. I watched a ton of games last year for the National League South, as well as did lots of coverage for it. So it feels rude not to go and predict it all over again, especially as I hope Dartford will be in it as well next year. So let's just get into it. Last year went terribly wrong in some aspects. Torquay, for example, Eastbourne, Dartford, of course, Aveley. There was a few that I got completely wrong, but there was also lots that I did get very much right. So nonetheless, let's stop waffling. Let's predict the National League South table for the 24-25 season. So, we've got our beloved TierMaker yet again. It's so handy. It gives you a great visual representation of it. I'm sure there'll be people that will watch the video, click on the table, and then, just zoom to the end of the video to have a look at the predictions. Absolutely fine. You get the predictions either way. Hopefully, the video is going to be a sort of live stream video. Go along. I've got lots of notes because there's lots of promoted teams that I wasn't too sure on. So, I have had to make some notes, signings, players in, out, previous positions, etc., etc. So obviously I've got some notes, we've got the screen up, we're going to go through it and give a little bit on each team and hopefully not make it too long of a video. So first things first, 24th, hate predicting it, but we have got to do it. It's part of the video at the end of the day, and I'm very sorry to the new boys of the league. I can only promise it won't just be all the new boys in the relegation zone. I've got some high hopes for some of the promotion lot this year. But in 24th, I'm very sorry. For me, it is going to be Enfield Town. So Enfield Town, playoff winners last year. As I say, a few of the promoted teams, I never really followed the Isthmian League, so I don't know an awful lot about it. But when I did look into the signings, I was very intrigued to find that they had actually signed a few National League South players from last season. Two of them being Dartford players. They signed Jack Smith, midfielder, Joash Nembard, centre-back, and of course, I think they signed Hemel Hempstead's for Foley as well. So 3 signings for clubs that really didn't have a great season. And it's not like they've gone to those clubs and took the best of the bad bunch as such, like other teams, which we'll get to later in this video, have done. I think they're sort of all relegation type team players. It's great to have the bit of experience, but for example, Josh Namban and Jack Smith just weren't good enough for Dartford this year. The year just gone, should I say. So are they great additions to Enfield? I think they're okay additions, but I just think they're going to struggle. Personally, I just think they may struggle a bit. There may be a bit of I've put them there because I don't know enough about them. But for me, 24th is where I've put them. Moving on, we have got another new boy in the league. We're going to go Salisbury. Salisbury are actually relatively local to me, if you want to move. I would love to see him stay in the league, especially if Dartford do go up. I would love to see Salisbury stay in the league. I actually went and watched them last year, interestingly enough, against Tiverton, because they were the playoff winners in the Southern Premier League. So, fantastic result for them to be in this league. But when I watched them, they were a good footballing side. They had a couple of really, really good players. I hope they've kept Noah Copping because he was a fantastic player, proper goal scorer for them. Should have done my research, but if they've kept him, that is a brilliant acquisition. But, he could end up anywhere. He is a National League South player without a doubt. But as well as that, they've made a couple of signings from Gosport. They have signed, I think, Craig Fassamade from Chippenham, which is a fantastic signing. But apart from that, I do look at the squad and I do think, is it going to be good enough to, keep up with how strong the National League South is this year? I think it might just be a bit tough for them. I'd love for them to prove me wrong, but I don't know. I'm really struggling to see it at the moment with the quality in this league and how much the likes of Welling, Hemel, Eastbourne, who are all down at the bottom last year, have massively improved. So yeah, I think it's going to be massively tough, and they for me are 23rd. So, 24th, this is where it got really tough for me. The two other teams that were going to be in the bottom was by far the toughest of the whole video for me to predict. But I have gone for Weymouth. As I say, yet again, not a team that I want to put there. I genuinely mean that. I don't want to put Weymouth in the bottom. I'd love to see them stay up. They're local, easy to get to. For me personally anyway, and they were in the National League not too long ago, so it'd be incredibly sad to see them, jump all the way back down to the national, to the Southern Prem, should I say. Apologies if it's all a bit messy. But last year, they didn't exactly have a fantastic season. They definitely survived, and quite safely, to be fair. But I think that's because there were so many poor teams last year. It was either like there was teams that were really good last year or really poor. It was like no in between. For that reason, I've looked at their signings. They got a youngster from Bournemouth. I think they signed Genesee from, I'm sorry if I've butchered the pronunciation, who was signed from Swindon, spent the end of last season on the Oval, only like a month or so. But yeah, a real lack of signings. I think they got Malachi Linton back as well, but in the nicest way possible. I think he's a good player, but he's not exactly going to set the world alight for goals for him. I think they've been flirting with relegation for quite a few years now, and I think maybe their time may just be run this season with just how strong the league is. So would be incredibly sad to see them and Salisbury go if Dartford do go back up. But I've got to give honest predictions and go with my gut feel. So then we've got 21st, the last of the relegated sides. Who are we putting there? We're going for Hampton and Richmond. Another one. I can't believe I'm putting Hampton and Richmond in the relegation zone. I really, really can't. But end of last season was just horrendous. I'm not going to go into it because I haven't looked into it well enough to get the full extent of what's gone on. I know there's been lots of financial difficulties. So many players have left the club, and I'm not just talking squad players. I mean really key players for them have left the club. It's really, really sad. Don't be wrong, they've made a plethora of signings, but lots of them have been from the league below. I'm not saying that can't work, but I think it's going to be incredibly tough. They were right up there at one point last year, and the end of the season was just absolutely dire. It really was. They went on this massive unbeaten run at some point as well. So, look, the main things is complete change of squad, financial issues, really poor end of last season, so they're not coming into it confident. And one of the only signings that I can actually give you any information on is Alex Wall, who signed from Dartford, which was crazy. Of course, he jumped ship straight away from Dartford. Went to Hampton and Richmond, but the problem with Wall, he's a good unit, he's a good player. I think he would have been fantastic for us in the Isthmian League this year. I think he could have got us plenty of goals, but he's not an out-and-out goal scorer, I don't think anyway. I think it's going to be a real struggle for Hampton, and I think it's got to be for the manager this year. Probably just survive. Maybe I'm being harsh. Hampton and Rich fans, I'm very sorry. Anyway, let's jump out of the relegation now, so I'm not annoying anyone. Last year we put the side in relegation, but they didn't get relegated, and it's Truro City. I'm going for them in 20th place. Finally got their ground back, which is fantastic. I was very, very close to putting them in the relegation instead of Weymouth or Hampton. Reason for that is they had a long, hard season. They did well to stay up, really, with all the stupid amount of travelling, etc., they had to do. But this year, from what I've seen, there has not been a great amount of signings. They've lost a couple players. I think the only signing I knew was Lavacum, the Taunton keeper, has gone there this year. I know their main keeper that had been there for many years, Truro, left. So, obviously, Lavacum will go in as number one, I can only imagine. But I don't know. I like some of their players. I like Neil. I like a few of the other attackers. They're quick, break well. But I don't know. I think I think mid-table would be a big result for them, if that's not being too harsh. But I'm going to go for them to survive by the skin of their teeth. So after that, where is my notes? We have got 19th place. We're going Chippenham. This feels incredibly harsh. Mid-table Chippenham, and I mean mid-table. They literally same goals, same points, same goals scored, conceded. It's crazy. But I'm going 19th for Chippenham. Lost a couple of vital players, as I said. Craig Fassamade being one of them. He was actually one of the players that I'm pretty sure he really started to make me think that Dartford were getting relegated when on the Tuesday night they beat us, and he scored the only goal of the game. But they've lost a few youngsters, lost Fassamade. Last season, it was good. They had a few really good results, including I watched them beat Yeovil away. They were absolutely fantastic, fully deserved the result. But at the moment, I think the lack of signings, a loss of a couple of key players, and, you know, they're not the biggest in the National East South anyway. They haven't got these crazy budgets that a few of the other teams have got. I don't know. I really hope they prove me wrong. I like Chippenham as a side. I've got nothing against them, but I think this season may be a tiny bit harder than last for them. So after that, moving on to 18th, we have got Welling. I don't know. Maybe I'm being a bit harsh, and Welling fans were expecting me to go a bit higher. It's not because I don't like Welling. It's just I don't know enough about them. I think first things first, they had an unreal end season. I was sure they were going to get relegated last year, and they didn't. It was horrible. I can't believe how they just came out of the traps to go on this absolutely crazy run. They have made a couple of good signings. I think Judd signed from Hemel, Winfield from Chelmsford. But I didn't really know any of their other signings, to be honest. You know, the last thing I'm ever going to do is make up that I know everything when I don't. I can only give you the signings that I know. A couple of players are gone. They've kept a good amount of their squad, though. I think they'll be safe. Maybe they'll finish a bit higher than that. But as I said earlier, it's such a tough season to predict. I'm just going for them 18th, I suppose. Bit of a cop-out. After that, we've got in 17th place. We are going for, drumroll please, Chesham. There you go. One of the new boys getting up the table a bit. Really pleased that I'm not putting, you know, all the newly promoted sides. But I do think Hornchurch and Chesham are the two that will avoid the relegation. Chesham, in short, great season in the Isthmian. Lost their key striker. I think it's Jaman. I don't know. You'll tell me. I only saw that he was their top goal scorer, but I believe they had other goal scorers as well. But the main thing that's made me really want to keep them out of the relegation zone, not just out of it, quite a bit away from it as well, comfortably, is signings. I saw that they signed Mitchell Weiss from St Albans. He's the midfielder, proper engine. Really like him every time I've watched him. I think he's a very, very good player, very experienced. Great signing by them. And Minas from Slough, who ended up having a fantastic season. Hadn't heard of him before he joined Slough, and he had a really, really good season. I think Slough fans would be incredibly disappointed they couldn't keep hold of him. But he was a fantastic player. So for Chesham to get him as well, absolutely fantastic. And I know from other vlogs I've seen on YouTube, they've got a couple of Bracknell's possibly best players. Someone may correct me in the comments. But I think they've done some really good business. They have lost their key striker, which did make me, you know, maybe put them down just one or two places than what I was going to. But I think for a first season for them, I've got to admit, I don't think a 17th place finish is that bad. So after that, in 16th place then, there we go. We have got Hornchurch. Hornchurch are the last of the newly promoted sides. They absolutely stormed the Isthmian League. Fantastic season for them. They were the winners. Signings-wise, made a couple of really good signings. I think their squad overall is strong enough to stay in the league. But adding the likes of Barnum Bob from Chelmsford, McQueen from Ebbsfleet, what a signing that is. He is a man that knows where the back of the net is, and he has so much experience in the national leagues. Two really good signings on top of a very good squad. As I say, I can't lie my backside off and admit that I know loads about them, but I think they've got a good enough squad that they should be safe this year. So the last team going into this section is someone we talked about earlier and one of their players. We are going for Slough Town. Incredibly sad. They had a really fantastic playoff push. Possibly overachieved. Maybe that's harsh. I'm not too sure. One of the smallest stadiums in the league. Not a massive budget. I like the manager. Coming in did a good job with, having so many players that weren't exactly, experienced in the national leagues themselves. But as we said, lost a couple of key players in Minas and Goddard, two really big losses in my opinion. They've still got a good squad. They've still got, I think Ogbonna really was a shining light last year for them. I remember him scoring a couple against Dartford. Matty Lynch, I remember watching him. I thought he was a really good player. I watched him against Yeovil and another game. Matty Lynch is a very good player. Very good at controlling the tempo in the centre of midfield. So I do think they've got a good squad. But again, it comes back to the league is just getting so difficult that I don't think 15th in the league would be the worst result for them. But I could see them finishing a bit higher as well. And even a bit lower, I'm not overly sure, to be honest. So there you go. Right, let's get into the top half of the table and try to speed it up, because we are going to be here from ever otherwise. Whoa, 14th place, we've gone Aveley. That feels incredibly harsh, but there is a reason for it. I think they're going to suffer a bit from second season syndrome. Massively overachieved possibly last year. I completely got it wrong with them. I predicted them to be right near the bottom. I did predict them to survive. I didn't expect them to go down, but I didn't expect them to do as well as they had. But for me, lost loads of key players. The main one being Odalusi, top goal scorer. What a player he was. He was like seriously a good player. Deserved a big move away. Really good player. My big problem for them is I don't think they've signed players of the same quality or better. I think new signs that they have made are a bit of a downgrade possibly on what they had. Could prove me wrong. Luke Allen being one of the signings from Dartford, very injury prone, I don't know, it sounds very harsh, but never really filled me with confidence when he was playing. But I think Aveley are going to have a bit of second season syndrome and maybe just, slip down the table a bit this year. But again, what do I know? So that is 14th. In 13th place, we have gone from Weston-super-Mare. Really solid season last year for a first season up. I think I put them right down in the relegation zone last year. Really proved me wrong. Had a great season. Had a good healthy blend of experience and youth last year. And the main thing I think with Weston-super-Mare is they've managed to keep a good bulk of the squad, which is fantastic for them. And they've signed the best of the relegated sides almost. They've got Luke Coulson, Dartford captain, which is a great signing. I know he got relegated, but a great signing. And Chamberlain from Taunton. They've managed to keep the likes of Dodd and Ruben Reid. Ruben Reid is getting a bit older, bit slower, but he's still a great finisher and great experience to have in that side. I think they're going to have a very comfortable season and be even a bit better than last year. So in 12th place, we've gone for Tonbridge. I wasn't sure where to put Tonbridge, so they're going bang on mid-table. I think every year they are a mid-table side. Signings, I wouldn't say have been overly exciting. Again, everyone's been picking at those Dartford players since we've got relegated, which I suppose is more than understandable. But Tonbridge I think they've taken loads of. I think they took Ronnie Nelson centre-back, who's not a bad sign. He had a couple of good performances for Dartford when he was on his loan spell. Shummerton, who can be a really good player, very one-footed, but if they get him a bit more experience and get him playing, he's a good player. And Taylor Maloney, who's a great creative player, but again, didn't really get a look in the door. I don't really know what else to say. I just think they're going to have a mid-table finish. Although I just don't want to speak of too much. I think they smashed us 4-0 last year, which was it's just embarrassing. But there you go. After that, in 11th place, we have gone for Hemel and Hempstead. Yes, Hemel. Can't believe I'm putting them here, but I am after their shocking season. But signings have been an absolute plenty this year. Transfers from Wishart of Hampton, Brandon Barsey from Dartford, Jermaine from Chesham. Some really good signs. They've signed loads of players, and they should not be finishing anywhere near where they did last year. So for me, a very comfy 11th place finish is more than fair. Could even push for the playoffs if these signings do work out, but we will see. you know, 11th just seems fair at the moment. Hopefully they'll just boost themselves back up, and, you know, in the next couple of years they'll go for a playoff push again. After that then, we have in 10th place. This is a pretty harsh drop, very possibly. But we have got a pretty harsh drop. This is the opposite, sorry. We've gone for Eastbourne in 10th. I know what you're thinking. Another relegation side you've put all the way up there. Well, Eastbourne, to be fair to them, you know, signings have just been brilliant. End of last season was absolutely brilliant. Kept key players. Bamber stayed, Moussa Diarra's re-signed. They've then added strikers in Alfie Pavey, George Alexander, both know how to get goals when they get going. Signings have been fantastic, kept key players, loads of signings, got a good budget. They should be absolutely fine, and who knows, pushing for the playoffs could well happen. It really could. After that, I'm trying to speed it up because this video is going to go on forever otherwise. We've got ninth place, should I say. We have gone for Bath City. Really harsh, I think, after how well they did last season. But I've mainly put Bath there. They have had a good few signings. They've got Grimes from Taunton, for example. A couple of other players that have actually played higher leagues in, I think, the Irish and Scottish divisions. You know, they're strong as always, but a few big players have gone. Cody Cook's gone to Torquay. For example, Richard Chin has joined Farnborough. I don't know. I think they could be one of those sides that will push for playoffs. They'll be in and around it. It's just if they make it or not. I'm not overly sure, to be honest. I'm just not overly sure. So, after 9th, we've got 8th St Albans. Always solid. Could always be in the playoffs. Could always fall just outside the playoffs. But anywhere between sort of 3rd and 10th, they're always going to be in that bracket. They always are. Where it is, I don't know. But for the sake of this video, I've gone 8th. Somehow every year they manage to keep some fantastic players. Sean Jeffers still at the club. What a fantastic striker. Rosolo still there. Fantastic to keep him on board as well. Alfie Payne, who just got promoted with Braintree in the playoffs, has joined as well. Look, they've got a good side and they could finish anywhere in that bracket, as I've said. But for the sake of this video, we've gone 8th. So after that, we've gone 7th place. We're into this bracket now. We've gone Chelmsford. Chelmsford, massive drop, I know. Very harsh, but lost some key players. Alexander, as we said, has left the club. Carruthers has left to gone to Dartford. Jenkins has left. Some really big losses there. In terms of sign, Jake Hyde signed from Yeovil. In my opinion, it'd be great if he can get some game time under his belt, but nothing too crazy there in my opinion. Blackman signed from St Albans, another good signing. They've had some other signings, no one that I know too much about, to be honest. But the reason I've kept them up there in the playoff positions is purely because they're just so good defensively. Robbie Simpson will make them well drilled. I believe they've got a new owner coming in now as well. So this, my opinion, might change after a week or so. But I think they'll make the playoffs. I just don't think it will be a 2nd place finish, if honest. So after that, we have got Worthing again. You know, for them, the reason for, you know, not even the drop as such, but the reason I can't see him challenging for the title is just too many big losses. We all know about Ollie Pearce. We're not going to even get started. Everyone knows that Ollie Pearce has left to go on York. Massive loss. Their top goal scorer. Wonderful football player. So exciting to watch. Massive loss for them. But, you know, what can you do? He deserved that move away into the upper league. They've also lost Felix, which was a massive loss. He's also gone to York. You know, a couple of good players have signed. Beard from Eastbourne, really good. They've got a new striker. They've kept Cashman, fantastic player. Donnellan, and they're just a great footballing side. They are a really good footballing side. They're great to watch. They'll play good football, and I do think they'll still make the playoffs. But challenging for the title is a bit too much for me this year. So, are you getting excited for the top 5? In 5th, we have gone for Farnborough. I really expect Farnborough to push on this year. Last year's start was shocking. I said it so many times last year, but home form kept them going. And then when it got to the end of the season, they just went on a fantastic run. What a fantastic side they could be this year with some recent signings. If I just give you a few of them, Main thing is they've kept Pendlebury. I think they gave him a 2-year deal, which you don't often see in this league, unless like Yeovil were doing it a lot last year. But for other sides, it is quite uncommon. Signed Richard Chin, if they could keep him fit. Wow, what a signing. Bloomfield, I think, from Hampton and Richmond. A couple of players from Woking. And I believe the night before I'm filming this, they even signed a couple more players. I mean, they should be so blimmin' strong this year. It's a joke. And if they don't make playoffs, I'll be incredibly shocked. So, right, got half an hour time limit. We've got the last 4 in 4th place. I'm very sorry, Torquay. I predicted you very, very high last year, almost winning the league. But this year it's 4th. Massive rebuilding coming. Some fantastic signings. Fantastic. We've already talked about Cody Cook. Seymour from Hampton and Richmond, another good signing. Jay Falston, who ended his season at Yeovil, another great signing. Palmer from Truro. Cody Cook. A plethora of other signings. New manager, new owner, good fan base. Good stadium size, should get them right back up the ranks, and there's absolutely no reason, Torquay, you shouldn't be making playoffs this year and really giving it a good go. But as I say, I think there's a couple at the top which are just a bit too strong. So it comes on to the 3rd place, where I am going to put Boreham Wood. As I say, I think these top 2 we'll get to in a minute will be the 2 fighting out for the title. But if we just continue with Boreham Wood, as I say, I don't know enough about them. They had a really, really poor National League season last year. I don't think anyone actually expected them to get relegated. I could be wrong, but I don't think anyone expected them to get relegated. But the main thing for Boreham, and the reason I put them in playoffs, is they've kept a massive part of their squad, which is so, so important for them. Healthy amount of their players have stayed. They've made a couple of good signings, good acquisitions for National League South. I just think they've got to do playoffs. That is the bare minimum for them. And I've gone 3rd for a football club that will be aiming to bounce straight back up without a shadow of a doubt. So, it comes down to the last 2. Who am I doing top? Maidstone, it hurts to put this high up, but luckily I haven't put them to win the league. Maidstone, you are going 2nd place. Now, George Elakovi's men had a great season last year. I mean, their run in, of course, as we all know, the FA Cup was absolutely tremendous. Unbelievable achievement, no matter who you support. But the main thing for me is how well they've done at keeping their squad. I think Fowl stayed, Sam Corn stayed, a couple other key players have stayed, and then what they've done on top of that is incredible. Some of the signings they've made, they've kept good stability, kept manager, they'll get plenty of fans, got a new stadium, well, not new, it's been there a while now. But with the signing of Colfurst from Braintree, Shaq Colfer, that is an unbelievable signing. Blair from Braintree as well. I mean, 2 players that have just got promoted, they've managed to get on their books. Pierre Foncu as well. I mean, they've done really, really good business, as well as keeping a healthy amount of squad. They would probably be my favourites to do it in the playoffs. If it does come to it at this moment in time, that could change in a few months' time. But 2nd for Maidstone. Hurts to do it, but I think they're going to be a force to be reckoned with this season. And last but not least, Dorking Wanderers, top of the league. Mark White, bunch of amateurs, top of the league. I know he put some comments out the other day that he's feeling very confident that they will go back up. But we all know Dorking have got a great squad already. And then they've had Reece Murphy from Yeovil. Great signing if they can keep him fit. We all know Reece Murphy is a goal scorer when he is fit, but it's keeping him fit is always the struggle. That's a great addition to any squad in the National League South. Could easily have gone up with Yeovil to the National League. Norville Williams for Farnborough, without a doubt one of the best players in the league last year for me. He's a fantastic player, Norville Williams. So to get him on the book and keep, I really thought he would have made a jump, but I suppose he's probably got a nice healthy wage package offer from Dorking. So that's a fantastic. They've got Carl, I think it was, who was at Farnborough last year, went back for the last remaining bit of the season with Dorking to try and help him out. He's a fantastic player to have back in the National League South. Squad-wise, really strong, good squad, and I think they will be outright champions. But as we know with this league, anything can blimmin' happen. Absolutely anything. So there you go. National League South predictions for the 24-25 season, done and dusted. Let me know in the comments who you think will finish where, and if you did enjoy the video, please like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Until the next one, See you later.